My name is Daksha Patel and I'm a multidisciplinary artist who works across a wide range of media, materials and technologies. I often engage with academic institutions during long-term residencies or fellowships as part of my process, and I'm particularly interested in scientific processes of mapping, measurement and visualization.
My name's Professor Clare Saunders and I'm the Head of Humanities and Social Sciences, Cornwall. And my research is on environmental activism, protest, sustainability, environmental movements. I've been doing that for about 20 years, charting the types of people who go to environmental protest and why they go to it. And during the course of my career, I've noticed a change in the way environmental activists talk about the work that they do and their aims and their scope. Environmental movements are generally sort of very white, but environmental movements now are trying to find ways to be more just and more intersectional, which led on to me being the cluster lead for the environmental justice research theme in our department, where we're exploring what environmental justice means and then using that as a starting point for bringing humanities and social sciences into conversations around research grants across all disciplines so that we can centre justice for people, for species, for ecosystems and earth processes.
So I was interested in this fellowship because I have worked in the past with environmental themes, with water pollution in South Asia, with air pollution in Manchester and biodiversity. But I'd not worked with environmental justice, which actually underpins everything and asks the big questions.
Humanities and Social Sciences, Cornwall, we're really trying to be at the forefront of spearheading creative ways of exploring humanities and social sciences issues. So the two came together really nicely, and I just thought it was a wonderful opportunity for us to do some really nice scoping out of all of the potential different meanings of environmental justice, and then to start thinking through how you might begin to map environmental justice to then use that as a starting point for unpicking some of these sticky and wicked problems.
I was really surprised at how transdisciplinary environmental justice is and how many different disciplines that Clare actually works with, which is very exciting, but also probably quite challenging as well. And for an artist, I think it's particularly exciting because the spaces between those disciplines are where creativity can happen. One of the first workshops I developed was called Diverse Voices, and it was an international series of conversations between students and staff here in the UK and their peers in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam University and Jaffna University in Sri Lanka. And we compiled a series of questions that everybody used. They could choose one to ask their partner from another country. And I also asked all participants to post an image beforehand that described something about the local environment that was really important to them. It was a very simple technique, but it worked brilliantly because as a way of introduction, everyone explained their image, what it meant to them, and talked about how the environment impacted their daily lives, giving specific examples. I then delivered some workshops with staff here at the ESI, the Environmental Sustainability Institute.
We asked people to draw places on a map of Cornwall to contextualise this to the local case of places where people had particular needs. So we looked, for example, at tourists, students, local communities, mining industry, the fishing industry, and we put on the map where they were concentrated in Cornwall, what their needs were, and what was making it difficult for them to get some of their needs. And then we started overlaying that with pictures of species to understand which species have needs and where those species exist. And we're starting to draw up this map of entanglements of injustice, which is then really important for trying to dig down into how to solve the problem of environmental justice and trying to do that in ways that are to some extent pragmatic, but work under the overall principle that we need to have justice for people, for species, for ecosystems, and for earth processes. And we need to think about all of those in a holistic manner, even if we're seemingly making a decision only about a small part of the ecological system.
So often my artwork will evolve out of the workshops that I do when I'm, in an institution. And here in Penryn, I've made a large wall artwork, which is called Sticky Wicked. Sticky and wicked are terms in academia which refer to problems that are very complex, difficult to solve, and don't have one easy solution. The drawing is a map of sorts. It's both local and global. So it's of the Penryn area, but I framed it within a circle and included compass points so that it suggests the Earth. The map is made up of human habitation, so you can see where the town farm is, and you can see the houses. But I also looked at a lot of data maps of Cornwall, and I've included the symbols of those data maps within this drawing, all representing data and different species, to show that we are all sharing this space together and to ask who can thrive in this situation. We've also had some good news, and that an abstract that we submitted has just been accepted for publication in the Green Humanities Journal. So Clare and I will be co-authoring a paper together in the near future, and that's something that I'm increasingly doing as part of my work with academic institutions, and is really interesting for me to work with someone who is a lawyer and an artist, co-authoring something together.
One of the things I really liked about Daksha's work was that she had worked with academics before, and she had turned science, harder science than the concept of environmental justice, into really beautiful, creative output. But not only that, she uses art not just as something to look at that's retained, but as something that is a process through which to think and work through things. And it's been absolutely refreshing working with her. We did a lot of our work online, having Zoom meetings where she would come to me and say, "Oh, I've got this idea. How does this sound?" And I would say, "That sounds great, but what are we getting at here? And can we tweak it? And can we think about changing it so it's like this?" And we managed to get to the stage where the workshops ran smoothly, and the workshops captured beautiful, creative items, but as well they captured some of the real nitty-gritty conceptual stuff and some of the critical junctures in thinking through what environmental justice means. So in a sense, in an academic sense, what we got out of it conceptually was what I was expecting, but what we got out of it in terms of process and pretty things to look at was incredible and mind-blowing. And I can't think of anyone better to work with on an artistic project than Daksha, and I really hope that we get the opportunity to carry on doing some of this mapping work and helping other people think creatively about the environmental justices they face.
It's been very special working with arts and culture on this fellowship, because I think that the way in which these fellowships are structured is very thoughtful and very, very supportive of artists. You really facilitate the process of whichever direction an artist wants to go in. And there's a deep understanding of how to work with artists, so that the people that you work with, subject matters, they also understand the process.